Hey friends, welcome back. Some conversations feel like I'm sitting by the fire with an old friend, and this is definitely one of them. I am joined by my friend Linda, who is a life coach and an author. She talks about the real power of small steps, the beauty of resilience, and how to start rewriting your story. So, no matter where you are right now, if you're ready for a fresh start or just need a little reminder that change is possible, trust me, you're in the right place. Now, let's get into it. Welcome to season 2 of the Naked Podcast, a space where ordinary people, just like you and me, share the moments that changed everything. This podcast was inspired by a conversation I had with my grandma, who once said, "If more of us shared our stories, fewer of us would feel alone." And that's exactly what we do here. On Naked, we talk about all the things, the wins, the losses, the growth, and the struggles. These are raw, unfiltered conversations about the parts we rarely talk about but deeply connect us. We are grateful you are here as we open up about the moments that shaped us. This is the Naked Podcast. We're just hanging out, you and me.
You,
So
me, and
happy
I
you're
love
here.
that.
I'm so glad this worked out. Honestly, this is such a treat for me to have you here. I really feel so grateful. What are you drinking? Tell me all about your drink.
This is espresso. Ever since we went to
Ooh.
Italy, we um
Mm-hmm.
we really like drinking espresso coffee. So yeah, so we
Yeah,
got a coffee maker and we use the pods, and it takes us back to memories of Italy.
the best, right?
The best
The
coffee.
best. Oh,
Yes.
it's so good. It's actually where you and I met, which is like, so for our listeners today, Linda and I met randomly, which I say randomly, but I feel like everything's for a purpose.
Yes.
We met at this really cute bakery owned by this lovely, lovely family. And it was like, I think it was like the best bakery around. Like it was just so delicious.
Yes.
And it also was the people that were there. I don't know if you felt the first time you walked into it. I was like, they just felt like family
Yeah,
almost from the instant.
they still do.
Yeah, hey. They
Mhm.
just had such a welcoming in their space. And we met at a gathering that they hosted, like a bunch of people, friends from the area, and they'd inviting our family and your family and many others to come and enjoy delicious food that night. And we just like hit it off, like off the hop.
I know. It's like, when you meet somebody that, oh, there's a good vibration there, there's good energy. And that's how I felt with you and your family. Your whole family is delightful.
Well, we feel the same way. I told the kids, I'm like, guess who I'm talking to today? They're like, what? We both adore both of you so much. Like, yeah, just people that you keep in your heart and that you know that you'll be friends whether you're near or far, which is the best thing about I think about traveling is the people that you meet and the connections and how deep they can be so quickly.
Yes, and we just are so surprised that we've met people across the country, just thousands of miles away, and they're good friends. That's
Mm,
surprising to us, and we love it.
yeah, it's the best.
Mhm.
It's honestly the best. We were like in a small town, like one of the smallest little towns I think we stayed in, Otranto, which is in like the heel of the boot in Italy.
Yeah.
And it's such a quaint, magical space. I felt like it just felt like,
Mhm.
I don't know, it has its own pace for sure. And we were there during the slow season, so it allowed us to be slow with it.
Yes.
Um, but
So beautiful.
yeah, what a beautiful place and beautiful people we got to meet. So many beautiful people, and you're one of the many. And it's been really cool because Linda and I have been able to stay connected over the last, how long has it been now? Almost a year since we met.
Yeah, we
Um,
were there in April.
okay,
April
yeah,
and
it's
May. I
almost a
think
year.
we met you at the end of, we stayed there 2 months. So we met you at kind of the end of our time there. Still probably in
Yeah,
May. We're coming up on a
yeah.
year.
Yeah, coming up on a year. And we've had so many
Wonderful.
amazing chats. And I feel like every time we talk, I'm like, the discovery of people, it's amazing. Like when I go into a room and you look around, you think all these people have their own story and stories,
They do.
chapters of their story that have brought them to where they are. And the amazing thing about
Do.
connection
Yes.
is just letting your stories be heard between communication and just how much connection there is. And I think we've had it been able to tiptoe into that as we've been having our chats over the last year and just learning about each other. And I just so intrigued. You're just, I have to say this, but those of you who are listening, Linda has the most infectious joy and glow about her. When we met her, all of my kids are like, what? She's she just has this essence and this glow and this energy, and she's just so vibrant. And then the more you get to know her, you're just like, what? Like what you've been through? And I only know like a small tidbit of it, but you just have this really infectious joy. And I remember my daughter saying to me, she's like, I want to be like Linda when I
Oh,
get older. Like just such an amazing human that you are. No, you
it always
are.
makes me laugh when you say those things. Well, thank you so
It's
much.
true.
Anyway.
No, it's so true. You just do. You do have this light about you. And
Mm.
I think it's just, I don't know, it's inspiring. It's really inspiring. And it's reminded me on my journey to like, well, you wrote a book. Tell me a little bit about the book. Cause like, this is who you are. This is who you are. Linda, you are joy.
Well, I have a website. First of all, I have a business, and the business is called Courage Daily Life Coaching. And I've needed a lot of courage in my life. And so it sprung out of all those things that happened to me. I decided that I could maybe guide other people into having courage too for whatever they're facing. Because, the older I get, the more I realize that everyone faces some pretty serious things in their life, and they
Mm,
all have a journey that's so unlike mine, but so some is so tragic and so difficult. So I
mm,
put together this book called Crazy Simple Steps to Feeling Happier. And the reason I did that was that on my website I found that the most read blog that I had was called Everyday Happiness.
mm,
And so I knew that people were really seeking and looking to how can I just have just normal, happy days, everyday happiness. So I threw together this book from different blogs I had written over time. And
wow.
it's just exactly like the title says, it's crazy simple. So for a long time, I was like embarrassed about it because it's so simple. Um, but I think that we've made being happy too hard.
Mm,
Different things, different goals, different things we've tried to do, or put before us to accomplish, and then we'll be happy. So I wanted to kind of bring it back to let's just keep it really simple and let's be happy right now. And so that's
mm,
where the book came from. And the book has been wonderful. It's opened a lot of different doors for me. And I
yeah.
hope that it's really helped some people.
Hmm. So if you could like give us a little snippet of one of those like one of those moments where you're like people could have this simple crazy happiness, like what would be one that stands out to you right now in your book?
Okay, well, one that I actually put into practice this morning. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm in Minnesota and the weather it's starting to get nice, but it's overcast so many days and there's no sun and um it's getting to be long that way. We do have some sun in the summer, thankfully. I was just feeling like my energy level was pretty low. And
Hmm.
so I went and put on music that Arthur and I both love, and we just started dancing around.
I
So,
love
a very
that.
simple step is to
Yeah.
raise your energy from low to just a little step higher by listening to music you love and let that music do what music does. It just lifts our
Wow.
spirits up, and so that's just one of them. But there's several different points in the book that are very simple, and at first blush, you could just look at it and think, well, yeah, I know that.
Hmm.
So people do know many of
Hmm.
almost everything in the book, but to be reminded and then to actually do those simple steps would really help you.
Hmm. Wow, that's beautiful.
So this
I love
morning,
that. Are you
it went from
sorry?
my energy level went from kind of in the doldrums to started raising up. Then I
Oh.
started doing a little movement. Arthur started laughing at me because he thinks I dance funny, which I probably do. And so that really it really was a
Wow.
step to feeling happier today.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Greg and I actually just started taking dance lessons together because I too, I we joke around the kids and I and Greg that like I'm like an elephant with two left feet. Like I just can't seem
I
to find my
can't believe
coordination.
that.
It's true. Every time I go to the lesson, she's like, "So do you remember what we did last week?" And I'm like, "No, I don't remember anything."
I can relate.
I'm just like, "Can we start over again?" Once we start moving, I get it. But I'm just like, yeah, fairly uncoordinated when it comes to movement. But it is something like every time I go there, it's funny you say that because Greg and I were talking about just points of connection and just how important it is to just feel connected to one another and also in playful ways because sometimes it's like it can be so many let's go for coffee or you go for dinner. It's like we forget to play. And I've been really feeling like in the season it's been quite heavy for me. How do I find room and create space for play where I'm just like I'm not thinking about the things that are maybe heavy around me, but I'm able to fully like embrace the present because it requires so much of my brain power which
Mhm,
step goes where,
mhm.
that I can't be thinking of anything else. And it just is playful. And I laugh about it because the moment I walk in there, I'm absolute permagrin. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm like a child. I'm just like, I just can't handle it. I'm in an absolute beam from the time I get there until the time I leave.
That's wonderful. That does
But
something.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It is like it is movement is magic, I think.
and
And
music.
it yeah, and music, right? That's true. Cause yeah, we're learning different types of moves with different type of music and
Mhm.
you can really feel it when the music just like it just aligns and it just changes it, whether it makes you feel calm or whether it makes you feel giddy or whether it makes you feel
Yes.
sensual, like whatever it is.
It's
Yeah,
powerful, and it's
it is
simple.
powerful.
It's so simple.
Hmm.
So we don't have to have, that's the whole premise of the book is that you don't have to have these really major breakthroughs,
Hmm.
but, maybe what you need is just to raise your energy level or raise your feelings just one little tiny step.
Hmm.
And so that kind of frees you up because people have, made it pretty hard to be happy.
Yeah, yeah, and to be able to just turn on some music and just like move your body and
Mhm.
just
Yes.
feel that change. Wow. Is there when you think about your book, when the feedback that you've had, is there one that comes up uh, the most or that stands out to you? Is like people come to me and go, "Wow, this one really gets me," and I turn to it a lot.
I don't know if I've had that. I've had a lot of people order online. I've had people pick up the book at a bookstore, and I don't know if I've gotten enough feedback directly from them.
Yeah.
But I get generic feedback like, "Thank you for the book. I passed it on to a friend who was going through cancer treatments, or and she was so
Mm,
encouraged." So I don't know if I've had like one page stand out or one thought stand out. So I can't really say.
just the
I
overall
wish I heard
essence.
more back, directly,
Yeah.
but
Well, hey, it sounds like the book is maybe on a broader scale, it's just from beginning to end. It's just changing people and bringing them the comfort and just the next steps of how to engage in happiness in their life, which
yes,
is
I hope so.
so powerful and so beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, I always like to let the listeners know a little bit about the guests as to who they are, what they're currently doing in life, what life has them, active in. So maybe you can give them a little bit of a understanding of who you are and what you do and where life has you.
Okay. Well, I am the owner of a business called Courage Daily Life Coaching, like I mentioned before. This business sprouted out of my whole career. My in my life has been helping people in one way or another. And so while I was in a corporation doing coaching for health and wellness, I knew that I really wanted just to coach for life because
Mm,
health and wellness is amazing to learn about different steps you can take to stay healthy in the world, keep your body healthy. But it was always the situations people went through that stuck with me and how they needed just a little help getting through those things, and those things would affect the body. So,
mm,
I really wanted to have my own business, so I retired 5 years ago,
okay.
and that's when it really seemed to I had the energy and the time to have that take off, and since that time, it's been a really wonderful journey, and now I am connected with a beautiful health and wellness, center that's not far from my home. And as of Saturday, which is March 1st, I will be their in-house life coach.
That's
And
amazing.
that's just an amazing step for me. So I don't want to work
Mm-hmm.
too much, but I do want to reach out to the people there that I see in the hallways that I think,
Hmm.
you know, maybe you need just a little boost. And that's what
Yeah.
coaching really is. It's not therapy, it's not going back and helping people sort out what happened in their past that much. It's more going from this point forward. And
Mm.
people my age, or as they're getting older, they're like realizing I just have like this much time. I've had all
Mm.
this behind me. Now I have this much time. And how
Mm.
can I make it the best? And that's really
Mm.
what I want to do. So I kind of am starting a new venture with it, but it's all built on years of experience in working with people. And of course, my own path, which was very amazing too.
Yeah.
So that's where I am right now. And so I do have a website, couragedaily.com, and then and of course the book Crazy Simple Steps. So
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So can people access coaching with you in person as well as online, or are you solely working in person at this point?
nope, online as well, and that would be through Zoom. Kind of like how you and I are
Yeah.
talking now, and and then just part time. I'm going to work at the wellness center in person.
Okay.
So I haven't been
Okay.
in person for many years with people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because in the corporation we did everything telephonically, and so now I'll have some of each.
Wow. Are
Mhm.
you so excited?
Yes, I'm so excited. It's very different. It's very different having someone sit right there with you, and
Yeah.
so I'm adjusting to that a little bit, and I think it's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. I love that. Like, one thing I caught from our conversation we had in Italy is that you were just so open to learning and to keeping moving forward. That's one thing my grandma told me, and I mentioned it to you in our conversation. And she's like, never stop learning, like, no matter how old you are. And at the time, she was 90 years old. And she's like, I still try to learn something new, whether it be a scripture or a craft or something,
That's
a
amazing.
poem or something to learn. And I think that you're such a good example of what that is. Like you said, you're doing something you haven't done before. And I think
Right.
a lot of times as we get older, it can feel like, what do we have left to give? And it can feel a bit limiting.
Mhm,
We can feel a bit small, maybe. I don't
mhm.
know.
Yes, yes, you can. I think that as women and men go through the transition of retirement, whoa, that's just such a big transition, and where you lose a lot of the outward expression that you're valuable. And so
Mm,
then finding that niche after that is challenging. It's
yeah.
challenging, but
Yeah.
yeah, everybody has something to give.
Right. And it doesn't end. Like I heard somebody once say, you do your best work in your 60s and 70s and 80s. And we have this idea that we have to have it all figured out in our 40s and be doing our best work then, but it comes with wisdom of age, you know.
That's
Like,
it.
how old are you, Linda?
I just turned 70
Oh my gosh, when was your birthday?
in December. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Happy belated birthday.
thank you. My
Happy
husband and
70th.
I, we both are like, could you ever imagine that at 70 things would be turning out like this? Where
Hmm.
we are so happy, and I have the business launching again, and no, we could never imagine it. At 70,
Hmm.
yeah, I always thought 70, oh, wow. That's pretty old. And it is old. But, there's a lot left.
Yeah, there is a lot left. It's how you look at it, I guess, hey? How you
Mhm.
see it. Yeah. Well, I'm just inspired and
Mhm.
I just, yeah, I think about you often when I think about things that that I want to do or that I feel, I want to step into. I'm like, okay, it feels like a lot sometimes, but I think about Linda, I'm like, and she's doing things too. So, you just never stop leaning forward and learning, which I think you're just such a good example of. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we can have a little sip of our delicious drinks. I didn't get to mention to you, but I'm drinking I'm not as I this is the thing. I don't really love coffee. I get quite jittery with coffee.
Yeah,
Um,
it can do it.
so I it can do it. So I have there's this company I found actually in this. My parents still live in a village right now. It's like 600 people. It's a very small village. This is where we've been taking care of my dad, and there's this Haldeman that makes these delicious teas, and she makes her own blend of teas. And this is like an Earl Grey cream, and she creates her own magic in a cup, really. So I'm drinking her Earl Grey cream with a little bit of my own cream on top of
Oh, that's
it.
awesome. You found what you love.
Yeah, that's the thing I love is there's so many amazing artisans that are making their own teas or flavors of it. When we were actually in Spain after I saw you, I found this company. This guy just started making his own marsala chai, and it's just so good. And so
Nice.
I just love finding like little wherever you go. There's just like you said in Italy, you've now were inspired. You've created your own Italy in your own home.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's awesome. I love tea
Yeah, it's.
too.
Do you?
I
Yeah,
do, but I'm just a plain tea drinker. I don't drink flavors or whatever, just regular black or green
black.
tea. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. You know what you love too. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing the bits that you have so far. I know when I asked you this question, I can't recall if I asked you this when we were in Italy or if it came through conversations later, but I mentioned to you that I have a podcast inspired by my grandma and a conversation that we had together. At the time, I knew even less about you than I do now,
Mhm.
and I just love your essence and your energy, and I thought you'd be an amazing guest on
Mhm.
Naked. So thank you for saying yes and for being here. And I wonder where this conversation takes us. I always come into these conversations blindly, not wanting to know where it goes, because I think sometimes we ourselves, when we sit here, don't always know where it's all going to take us.
True.
And that's best to create this more authentic, real conversation
Mhm.
um, in our story. So when I asked you, was there something that came to mind when you thought about the time in your life when everything changed? And is that what's sitting with you this morning?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have one point in time
Yeah.
that I can, when I think of that question, it takes me right back to that one point in time.
Mm,
And it's a memory that's auditory. So
mm,
if you were in a office and someone was slowly shutting the door and the door finally latched, that's the sound. That sound right there of a
mm,
door slowly latching is the memory of realizing that my life was going to change in a
mm.
huge way. So
Wow.
isn't that interesting that I can, okay, that has been at least 25 years ago, and I can hear
Wow.
that right now. When I
Really?
So our brains are wonderful at storing things, especially
Mm,
traumatic events. We can store them
mm.
easily, and
Yeah.
we can call them back easily. And that one pops right back with that question.
Hmm. Wow. Even as you explain that, I'm like, I can hear it myself.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one is an auditory memory. But of course, now that I've said that, I'm sure you're wondering what led up to that. I should tell
Like,
the rest.
what slammed the door? How did it latch?
Well, a little backstory is that I had a family, two boys, and a husband that I loved deeply, and a career, and everything.
Hmm.
Kind of in my late 40s at that point. And we were sitting in a counselor's office. The counselor was across from us. And my husband had just revealed his unfaithfulness that lasted and went back 20 years.
Wow. Whoa.
And I, in my naivety, had no clue.
Wow.
And so I remember listening and not crying, taking in the information, and then the counselor saying, I would like you to step out. That was to my husband. And when he stepped out, the door latching is what is the pivot.
Mm.
So from that point, my life drastically changed. I was married 24 years and
Wow.
very happy in my my opinion. Just um happy. We would be seen walking in the neighborhood hand in hand, just in love with this man for so
Hmm.
many years. Yeah, so everything changed from that point.
Wow. I
Mhm.
can imagine. I can
Yes.
imagine. So you've got two boys at the time, younger
Teenagers.
kid, teenagers.
Mhm.
Wow.
So, the marriage dissolved, and I would say at that point in my life, I was not strong. I was not a strong
Mm.
woman. I was very dependent on him for many things, for finances and for decisions and for many things in life. And so
Mm.
all of a sudden, I cannot be dependent on anyone but me. And there was a lot of devastation in my life personally,
Mm.
just my relationship with God kind of went down the tubes. Um, my church family support wasn't there anymore. Um, Friends didn't know what the heck to do with us.
Mm.
My children were blown out of the water. My oldest son decided to enlist in the military. He went into the military. He ended up in Iraq. He was in the worst part of the war. Uh,
Wow.
I had only worked part-time at this little job, and I was pretty soon gonna have to figure all that out. So everything changed when that door
Wow.
latched.
Hang tight. We'll be back after this short break. Season 2 is finally here. When I first started the Naked podcast, I honestly had no idea where it would lead us. I just knew that honest conversations really do matter. Somewhere along the line, I realized that the best parts often happen after we stop recording, the quieter moments, the ones you don't plan for. So this season, I'm inviting my guests to stay a little longer for those conversations. I am so excited to share that the Naked podcast now has a Patreon, a space with extended episodes, written versions of my solo pieces, and a few of the things I am building just for you. If this show has moved you, made you feel seen, or just kept you company, I'd love for you to join me there. All the details are in the show notes, just a little invitation to stay a bit longer. As we take this short break, think about someone who might need this story in their ears today and pass it on. Now, let's get back into it. I can imagine everything changed. So, when you think back to that, what were your next what were your next steps for you? Like you say, you're not feeling the strongest.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I can imagine
besides
that.
finding a place to hide in the house, that's like my son, my son that was 14 came home one day and found me wedged between the bed and the wall,
Hmm.
crying. So the next steps were to totally grieve what had just happened.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, try to build. And, I wasn't strong. So I can look back at a series of books and events and things that began to help me. It kind of infused strength into me. And
Hmm.
so those books are precious to me, actually. I they helped me with my turning point. And also I learned about affirmations from the author Louise Hay. I never knew about affirmations. I never knew that saying "you are strong and confident" could actually help me feel strong and confident. I didn't know
Hmm.
the power of that, of what was going through my head continuously on the loop was that
Wow.
I don't know what to do. Everything has failed. I have no job. I don't know how to move forward. I
Hmm.
That loop was really strong. And so I
Hmm.
began to change the loop to I don't know how this is going to work out, but it's going to work out. So just
Wow.
beginning to change the course in a positive way. And I'm not saying this was fast. It was not
Right.
fast. Um, it was really step by step, just trudging, really trudging
Mm.
through day by day with small baby steps to try to get through it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, see, after I would say it took me probably about I had some other defeats in there after that where I connected with men that I felt I mean, I only knew how to be a wife. I
Hmm.
only knew how to be a mom and a wife, really. And so, um, after a time, a year and a half or so, I would run into men that were interested in me, and I kind of glommed onto them because I didn't know anything else. And
Hmm.
that was wrong. That was the bad step. I didn't realize it
Hmm.
then, but it brought me further down,
Hmm.
further into despair because the kind of men that somehow I attracted were mean
Hmm.
and yeah, controlling because I didn't know how to make decisions. So a
Right.
controlling man will make
Hmm.
all your decisions for you, which took some of that weight off of me. But then again,
Hmm.
in the long run, very destructive.
Right.
Yeah. So I had to learn that. And I had to have my heart broken a few more times before I
Hmm.
finally figured it out that I could do this on my own. I really could. I could make money. I could make decisions. I could manage a home. I could take care of my son. I could do it on my own. That was a big, big thing to go through and learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
S-
What was the when you think back to that, is there something pivotal that made you realize that? Come to that understanding of like, no, I got this.
Yes, I think it was the books I read
Yeah.
because I have a spiritual base in my life, but at that point, I felt like God had betrayed me.
Hmm.
You know, I kind of blamed him, and
Yeah.
and then so I stepped away from the spiritual aspect of my life because I felt like that was not working. So then I sought some books, sought through other people's writings, really. And I think when you're ready, some of the books just come to you. It just happened that way
Hmm.
for me.
Yeah.
And so I started learning about the power of the subconscious mind, how your mind is faster than your conscious mind. And so you need to kind of get a grip on that because your subconscious will take you down the rabbit hole. So
Yeah.
part of getting the grip on that was to do affirmations,
Hmm.
start to believe in yourself, start to say the things that helped. Yeah. So after I landed this really good job, thank God I landed a really good job. I started to write down in a small flip book um,
Yeah.
inspiring quotes or things that infuse just a little bit of like a shot of courage.
Hmm. I
So
love that.
then it was like this 3 by 5 little notebook, and on each one I would write if I heard a phrase or read a phrase or had an affirmation that resonated with me, I would write on that. So as I was working between, it was a telephonic job, between calls, I would turn the page to the next one and the next one and the next one. And this was
Hmm.
every single day. And
Wow.
these affirmations and quotes of strength is what was the turning point.
Wow. That's incredible. What a beautiful practice that it sounds like eventually turned into versions of that turned into a book. What
Yes.
was your lifeline? What was your point of courage actually became something that you could share with the world?
Yes, that's exactly it. And throughout my coaching practice now too, is that the loop that we have going on in our head can be very destructive, and it's just
Mm.
counterproductive. productive for you. So you can change that. You can change if you're a negative person, you can change and you can redirect your life. If it's falling apart, you can do some things and they can be very simple that will set your feet back on the ground and you can go forward slowly, but it's very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's amazing. Do you find yourself still um, with a notebook and out in your day and still finding courage and words that inspire you?
Yes, because just to be super transparent, uh, my husband and are planning a trip this year, and somehow I just got myself all worried about money, and I'm normally never worried about money. I just feel like
Mm.
money flows and just don't worry about it. But anyway, so I went and I got my original book, and I
Wow.
did. I got my original book, and in fact, are they right here? I pulled out these. Well, I don't see them, but I had it right here. I pulled out these 3 by 5 cards that I wrote about money, and this was what many years ago. And I started going through them, and I just felt it again. I felt that infusion of strength that comes from setting your mind on a more
Hmm.
positive track. And it was like reminders. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I remember this. Of course, because I was
Hmm.
going down the wrong path. So
Wow.
it's like a lifelong technique or a way that I keep my the ship righted,
Yeah,
if you can say it
totally.
that
It's
way.
like just slightly steering it the other right, it's like having your hands on the wheel.
Yes, and I truly think it works for everyone. I do.
Wow. So
I think it does.
tell me more about these. So you have like flashcards you wrote down, like you kind of go through it. I'm very intrigued.
They're kind of like flashcards, and really I made it into a small book. It's not for sale though, but it's this
Hmm.
small flip book called Courage Quotes for Life Challenges. So after I must have wrote, I don't know, 150 of those cards front and back, at the time I
Wow.
needed them. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to put these together. I'm going to take the best of the quotes, put them
Okay.
together and publish them. But I didn't write down where I got the quotes, who they were from. I just like gathered them. I was just in like trying to help myself mode.
Hmm.
And so anyway, I haven't published them for sale, but I do give them away when people decide to coach with me. I'll send them that
Cool.
book and tell them this is part of your healing. So look through
Wow.
here, and if there's any that resonate with you, mark that and then make your own.
Hmm.
Make your own.
Wow.
Mhm.
I love that practice. Can you remember the one that you turned back to this week when you were feeling
Yes.
all those? Yeah, what was it?
It was so profound that I need to remember it and now use it with my clients. And it was about fear. So I was having some fear
Hmm.
about money. It was about fear. And it said, follow the fear back to the belief. And I just
Hmm.
thought about that. Okay. What is my belief about money? What was installed as a child? What was like,
Right.
what is my scary belief about money? And the scary belief about money is something like, it'll run out. I'll never have
Hmm.
enough. I'm gonna,
Hmm.
whatever. So there's this scary belief. So follow that back. And then when you follow it back, ask yourself, is it true?
Wow. Wow.
Is it true? So, okay, let's say it's not about money. Let's say it's about, I never make the right choices. And you're going down that path. I just made a bad choice in a partner, or I just, whatever. So you follow that way back. Like, where did that come from? Where did it keep really digging? Where did that come
Hmm.
from? And what is the original thought or the original
Hmm.
belief about that? And if the original belief, like when I was going through my whole devastation with the marriage, The belief was that I am so small and
Mm,
I don't count.
mm,
Well, I don't know. That came, who knows where that came? It came from being fifth of six kids. I don't know.
mm. Yeah.
And the four above me being highly successful, and then there was me. I don't know where it came. But I had to follow, you can follow it way back. And then you ask yourself, is it really true? Because a lot of the beliefs we have that were installed as children, like that one,
Mhm.
the fifth and
Mhm.
sixth, not counting very much, everybody else counted more than me.
Yeah.
That wasn't true, but it
Right.
was there. And so you
Right.
challenge it a little bit. You say, oh, that's that stupid belief that I wasn't valuable.
Mhm.
Then you can change it. Then you
You can change
begin
it.
to write down on your notebook the things that are the opposite. Like, okay, I do count. I'm not small. I can make a difference for myself and people in the world. Whatever it is, you begin to do
Mm.
the opposite. Say the opposite in your head, even if it doesn't sound right at the time, and see what happens with that. So following that belief about money that I'm going to run out and there's not enough came from way back. If I challenge that
Mhm.
belief, then I can actually change my future with believing the best is going to come, staying
Right.
open to opportunities, using your head about how you spend the money you have. So it
Mm.
changes your whole
Mhm.
process.
Mhm. Yeah. How you move through it, how you see it. I heard this one person talking a while back about when we have these anxious thoughts. Like there's so much noise in our heads that can be so numbing from what our heart is really trying to say that the whispers become so quiet because the chatter in our minds is so loud.
Yeah.
And how typically when we let our minds go on these ramping like trails of negativity is that we don't realize this, but we attract that. um, and then we have more of that, and it just feels like it's just dumping on you constant
Yes.
negativity. And to train it, I love the idea of just having a notebook and yeah, just telling yourself what you are, who you are,
Hmm.
and the power of
Hmm.
that. uh,
Hmm.
I think the book that you're talking about sounds so like interesting, and what a great tool for your clients to have to work through their healing. Like
Yes.
that is powerful.
Yes, and some of the things that meant something to me back then, and they still do when I read through it, but wouldn't be the same for them. And so I give that to them, but they need to make their own. So
Mhm.
whatever it is that gives them just a little shot of courage when they read it, a little bit of it resonates like, oh, that's so true. That's what they need to
Yeah.
write down, and then they need to
Yeah.
review it because you won't retain it. It's a new thought. It's something you haven't practiced. But if you practice it, then
Mhm.
you'll be amazed that that's what will come back. That's what will come
Right.
back instead of the original thought that was defeating.
Right. It's rerouting those thoughts, right? And
Yes.
yeah,
Rerouting.
replacing it with something positive and powerful.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow. That is something I think I'm gonna adapt. I love that idea because I've just been paying attention to lately just the noise in my own mind and how it can feel so paralyzing in making the next step
Yeah.
because it can just be, yeah, just cause a lot of confusion. There's not clarity that comes from that, and um, not paying attention to the noise just allows more noise
Mhm.
to to run wild.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, what I got from finding that card this week was to really go back to where that original belief came from,
Hmm. Yeah.
because it may not have ever come just from us. It was
Hmm.
gathered, it
Hmm.
was installed by parents or meaningful people in our lives or events
Hmm.
or something, and it may
Hmm.
not even be true.
Right. Yeah.
But if you
I think
let that be there, it will
right.
be true.
Yeah.
It will be.
Yeah. It's so interesting, like when I, think about being a woman and all the things that we all have similar struggles in, whether it be, like you said, the finances, or whether it be body image, or whether it be um, smart, or whether it be,
Mhm.
just relational things. Um, and I think I remember my one friend telling me once, she's like, I didn't realize my arms were big until my mom told me how big and flabby her arms were, and that thought just stuck there.
Yes.
You know? It's silly, but it is the things that we pick up,
It
right?
is.
The
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it needs to be
yeah.
challenged, like, "Well, everybody's arms are
Is
like this," or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Is that true? Or is that thought that even, like, your mom felt came from her mom or her aunt, or somebody that just didn't see themselves as they are,
Yeah.
as this beautiful person, and how those things can just trail into our future.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
and
true.
even, yeah, and if you don't reroute them, and find the things that are good and positive and that are true about you, those can be the things that feel like the most real,
Mhm.
when in fact they aren't.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, Janelle. So those are very simple truths,
Hmm.
but those simple truths can change your life. And that's what I want my whole practice to be, is the simple truths. So I talk with women that are extremely smart. I'm looking at them thinking, girl, your IQ is way above mine. And then I'll say something. I'll just say a simple truth and they'll be like floored. Oh, because they hadn't thought about that. And I think,
Yeah.
well, I don't know how that happened, but it happened, and I'm so glad that my simple
Hmm.
truth could get through to that person that is super smart.
Hmm. Wow. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what your IQ is, right? It just
Right.
there's Yeah, I think, what you've gone through, and I think sometimes we go through really difficult things. We don't know how we're going to get out of it. And I think from hearing your story and from learning more about you, it's like you've allowed your story, yes, to sit in it, and yes, to feel the pain, and yes, to feel what
Mhm.
that was, but you didn't let it destroy you,
Mhm.
and you didn't let it take away who you are. It added to the knowledge of what you've all of those experiences brought you to where you are today. So just it was an added experience and knowledge that brought you to who you are, and doing the magic and the wonder that you are in people's lives today.
Mhm. All of it.
Whether
Yes. So true.
Right?
So true. And then just one other, I'm reminded of one page in the book, and it's like there's a spiritual aspect to life that, I was very much in the church. I actually I was a licensed pastor for a time. I was in the church, very involved, and then stepped away.
Mm,
And a page in the book is encouraging people to find their spiritual connection, whatever
mm,
that looks like and is to them. Because now, after all these years and all this, kind of seeking my own path there, I absolutely feel like I have a connection. It's not like it was before, but it's
mm,
very vital in life that we have a connection to something higher than ourselves. And so I do want to acknowledge that that's where a lot of my answers probably come from when I'm working with people. And it's not just
mm,
me. There's a higher
mm,
presence that kind of guides, and I'm not doing this by myself. And there's a presence that cares about every individual, and somehow that's working through me to
mm,
remind them of that and to connect in any way that they are able to. It doesn't have to be organized religion or church or whatever people have ideas about, but it can be on a personal basis, and it's very important in life to help like
mm,
guide your way. So I wanted to
mm.
share that, and I hope that's encouraging to some people too.
I think that is. It's realizing, yeah, that there is. a power much bigger than ourselves,
Mhm.
that's holding us, and um, that's whispering. I
Yes.
always think like if we listen carefully enough, we can hear. A lot of us, I think, a lot of times I felt very confused, even in the season we're in right now. It's like, what is our next? And when I still all the noise in my mind, I can feel the whispers of what's next. I can feel the calm, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense. And people might think that it's crazy or that, you know,
Mhm.
but it's like trusting that,
Yes. I
you know.
love that about you. I feel like you and your family do that. You do. Yes, yes, it all is, but, I love that about you is seeking what is next and then quieting enough to hear it.
This like I used to get a very uncomfortable feeling in the stillness. I'd almost feel more rattling, like more vibration of like I can't sit here, until I went through a really difficult time where stillness was the only thing I could actually do. And I was like, for the first time, maybe since I was a child, was actually able to recognize my heartbeat and recognize the voice within and know that like it's been speaking all along, you know.
Oh, that's so
It's just
good.
that I've been running from it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and it still can feel like that sometimes. It's, wanting to continue to be so busy because it's hard to sit in the stillness because you're not sure what you're going to find there sometimes, you know.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Wow, I'm just so inspired to continue to be as you share your story. When you think back to so if someone's listening today and they're maybe in the seat of a familiar space of where you were 25 years ago, and you're just like, I feel like my whole world, and that latch, that door, maybe someone's trying to keep the door open, or they know, or they're just like the door has been slammed, or they're sitting in that spot. What is something that you would want them to know today?
First of all, I think I would want them to know that I understand the pain because I think a lot of people want to help so much that they just try to point in a helpful direction. And sometimes you just need somebody to say that that pain is so real. That's so real. I get you. So that's the first thing. I can almost feel that when we're talking about it. That
Mm,
there's people listening or close that have that and it's deep. So that's the first thing is to know that it's real and I'm sorry. And then
mm,
after that, to slowly allow yourself, it's like the door is really shut, but allow it to crack open just a little bit and imagine light streaming in, that there is a tiny little path, there's a tiny way, there's something coming that will help you. And just keep looking toward that it's going to get better. You're going to find your way and just open that door a little bit to it. So that sounds like real kind of crazy talk in a way, but we close ourselves off by ruminating how terrible life is, and it can be really bad.
mm,
But we also need to open the door just a little bit. So I
mm,
was working with a woman that she continued to, an event coming up, she continued to see the most negative thing that could ever happen with that event.
mm,
And so she was like in a room that was dark and the door was shut, but around it, she could see the light flowing in from the side of the door and underneath it. She could see there was light there, but she was in the dark room.
mm,
And so I encouraged her just to, with her thoughts that she was ruminating on, it kept her with the door shut. So we talked about what would a different thought be, and that thought will open the door just a crack. So the light not only came in under the door, but then it opened just a little bit. And like the thoughts were, this could go well. This could be a really joyful event.
Mm.
The opposite of what she was thinking that was going to all happen. Uh, it's very possible I could make good memories here. So that those statements opened the door instead of being in the dark looking out, knowing there was joy on the other side, but keeping the door shut through negativity
Mm.
to practice a few positive statements. So that's what I would try to instill if I was talking to someone that was going through that kind of event.
Mm. I love that. It's very tangible. It's very, you know,
And
something
simple,
that you can apply. Yeah, simple.
simple.
Yeah.
So we can make it very, very hard, or we can make it very simple, tiny steps. And those are really how we get there. We don't leap. We really
Hmm.
all just take tiny steps toward a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Mel Robbins, but it's an author that I've just been recently learning and reading her book. And one thing she says, and she talks about basically, well, her whole premise is like, let people, you don't need to control what they're doing. You just need to be in charge of where you're going and where your heart is. And there's a thought that just seems like it's vanished from my brain right now that was right on what you were talking about. And now I'm trying to catch
It'll
it.
come back. It'll come back.
It'll come back to me. But yeah, just so yeah, clinging to the things that bring you life and things that remind you who you are and help you make those like tiny steps forward.
Mhm.
Whether it's the books that you mentioned earlier that you said you still hold on to, that they're still part of what you, they mean something to you. And I can think about books that I've gone through really difficult times that, again, the author's mind, like the author's words are just etched in my heart because they really took me to the next step. Um, and so it's finding those people, whether it's the ones that you mentioned or others, I think, yeah, finding literature that encourages us on our journeys. Get your hands on Linda's book and find the simple ways, simple crazy ways to find happiness in life. Doesn't have to be so complex, doesn't have to be so unreachable, like you said, in those simple little things.
Step by step. I always tell people,
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the happiest you've ever been in your life, where would you place yourself? And then wherever they come in, could be a 1. You know, what tiny thing could you do today to move it up to 1.5
Mm. Mm-hmm.
to 2? It's unrealistic to think we're going to live at a 10. No, nobody lives at a 10. In my life,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 70 years old. I probably have had tens 5 times
Mm-hmm.
in my life that I can think of where just the
Mm-hmm.
joy, but I've had
Right.
but that's not where we live. So we pretty much live, wherever you're used to living, and I feel like I live at a 5. 5 is
Mm.
awesome. 5 is
Yeah.
like everything's cooking.
Yeah.
Then I have just super good days and I bump up a little bit or something comes along and I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm down a little bit. What can I do? Maybe I'll just put on the music and dance a bit. Whatever."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's simple, simple steps, but be realistic where you are. Maybe you live at a 3 and you're happy with that. But if you go
Mm-hmm.
lower, that's pretty low. So what
Yeah.
can you do that day? Simple things. Take a step
Yeah.
up.
That reminds me, as you're talking, reminds me of a story that I'll quickly share. So during COVID, we were back in Canada and we were driving down this like residential area in Calgary. And there's this old lady on the side of the road, and she was probably mid 80s or so, and she was just waving. She was waving to people. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's just smiling and waving. And she just was such this absolute light. And people were honking as I went by her. So I was like, girls, we got to go buy her some flowers. Like, I don't know who that lady is, but I just want to meet her. So I went and bought her some flowers and came back around and she wasn't there. was like, oh, dang it. Like, I hope she must live close by. Like, she had her walker there. Like, she can't be far. So we drove up the street and we found this house. And I don't know if your grandma or people who are listening, if your grandma's ever had like those plastic cats on the front lawn and like maybe a flamingo and like, these little characters with like the plastic bunny. And I was like,
Is
this
that
has to
her
be the
place?
house. It has to be it. So we're sitting there. I'm like, how do I do this? Like, I don't know if this is her house or anything. And all of a sudden, her garage door opens, and she comes out into the garage from her house to put some recycling. I'm like, it's her. So the girls and I get out of the car. I'm like, we just wanted to say, like, you made our day. We brought you some flowers. And she starts to get all choked up and she says, I want to tell you a story. She said, COVID has been very hard for me because I used to do activities and with the elderly, and I get out and I felt so lonely because I couldn't go and be with anyone. It was so isolating. And I'd spend 2 hours a day just going and waving to people going by. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, it was really crazy. All of a sudden, the radio contacted me about if they could come do a story on me. She said, "My waving, I've continued. It's been 8 months, and every day I go down and I wave for 2 hours, and it's been 8 months, and I've had letters from all over the world. People seeing me on the news, just saying how much joy they feel, how much light they feel, how much hope they feel from seeing my smile." And I just was thinking, such a small act, like you'd straight out your front door, and she just went out there waving. And she has had so many gifts brought to her house and letters, stuffed animals and hot flowers and just, hey, thank you for being a light when it felt really, really dark. And I was like,
Wow.
wow,
Wow, that is such
wow.
a great story. And it goes with what we are talking about, that it doesn't have to be too hard. And she
No,
did it. She's amazing.
right? Not able to drive, you know, just walk to the nearest closest, like the closest busiest street that was there, and people in the whole neighborhood knew who she was. And
I love it.
yeah,
I love it.
brought it, right? Just like the small little things. It's
Yes.
amazing. It's so powerful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And an impact.
Oh, this has been so much fun. Okay, so is there anything that you'd like to that you're like, oh my gosh, I want to say one more thing about my journey that comes to mind before we kind of come to the end that you want to leave with people?
Well, I just would like people to know that I'm married. I have a wonderful husband. You've met him.
You do. You do. You
I
two
spent
are just
10
this beautiful
years
couple.
10 years single, trying to figure life out about
Mm,
about relationships with men. So that
yeah.
and then and then I married my husband, he's so amazing. So that was one of the better decisions I've made in my life.
Mm,
Um, and so I want them to know that the struggle, there was a humongous struggle and a lot of pain, but things are wonderful now. It doesn't always happen that way with everyone, but I just want people to know that story and how it evolved,
mm-hmm,
and also the business and how that evolved. And that now my whole focus, really outside of my own little home, is that mostly women, some men, but women that feel the way that I was find me. That's my whole
mm,
focus, because I
mm,
want to help them. And so, yeah, that's my life journey at this point.
yeah. Do you find that brings you so much fulfillment? Like
I can't even
I feel
explain
that
it.
in you.
I can't
Yeah.
explain it. It's just the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. And it's not
Mm,
about money, although there is a charge for
yeah.
coaching, but it's about just helping them figure out the few steps to take to change the course of where
Mm,
their life was headed. And it's the most fulfilling thing ever. So it's not, like I say, it's not exactly just me. And I'm drawing
mm-hmm,
on years of experience with people and my own like connection with God to say something that would be valuable.
mm-hmm,
And yeah, and just to understand their pain and how maybe simple steps could bring them forward.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's amazing. But if people are listening and you've heard, I'll attach it as in the captions. But if you're wanting to connect with her and maybe to navigate down a journey where you would like to have somebody coach you through life, and take you towards more finding your more joyful, happy self, I feel like Linda's an amazing person for that. So I'll attach all that stuff. But if there's any questions you have, you can connect with her and see your own journey unfold in a really joyful retracking the brain and refinding new ways to think about yourself and the circumstances around you. I think you're just a wonderful person for people to connect with and to do that with. And I am really, really honored and super grateful that you felt comfortable to be here with us and join the naked community by sharing your story. It really does matter, and it really does affect and does really impact people
Mhm.
around the world. So thank you for not staying small, but emerging into the person that you are and being the light that you are. It's such a gift to have you here. And before we cap off, I'd love to know, in this week, what's brought you joy?
Oh, let's see. Well, um, the health and wellness fitness club that I'm going to be working at. Um, they've been so welcoming to me. Um,
Mm,
they bought new furniture. They helped me fix
yeah.
up an office. So the office looks over this beautiful scenery, and so
Wow.
that's really joyful. I have their backing, and now I just need the people. So I
Mm,
need them to come, and
yeah.
but I'm ready now. So that will start in March now, and we'll just see what happens. I'm looking forward to that, and
Wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
it's joyful.
Well, congratulations on this new venture.
Thank
And I'm
you.
sure once people come and find you, the word's going to travel and you're going to be, putting a lot of light and a lot of courage into a lot of people that need to hear it.
Hope so.
Yeah. Well, cheers to this amazing hang today. I really
So
appreciate.
my friendship and just to knowing you, you're just such a joy.
Ah, you as well. The feelings are mutual. Hope you have a really beautiful day and that the sun comes out and shines for you a bit today.
Thank you so much for you too.
So-
Say hello to your family.
I will. Sending you all the love. Take care.
Bye bye.
I want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to listen to the Naked podcast. It honestly means so much. If there's something in the episode that has moved you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you haven't already, give us a follow and leave a review. It helps so much to keep the momentum and keep the show growing. For more conversations, reflections, and ways to stay connected, check out the link in the show notes. Until next time. If you would like to connect with us or possibly share your story, please contact us at nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. That's nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. Thanks so much.